and I believe a good education can be the key to innovation and advancement. We live in challenging but exciting times. Walls of prejudice, isolationism, greed, and exploitation are being broken down. We have our first African-American president. Our Secretary of State is a woman. Other members of the President's cabinet are African-American, Asian-American, and of Latino heritage. Globalism and interdependence demand that we educate global citizens who see global solutions and can work towards a global view of problems. Accordingly, we must continue our fight against ignorance, narrow-mindedness, and hatred. We must work towards international cooperation to solve such problems as terrorism, peace in the face of conflict, global climate change, crushing poverty, and disease. You are among the lucky ones. You live in this great nation of ours where you are allowed to pursue an education and follow your dreams. It's important to be proud of your heritage and of your own country, but it's also important to be prepared to be citizens of the world, to seek to understand other cultures and other ways of life, to make yourselves competitive with others across the globe, and to make our world a better, more livable place. Albert Einstein once said that we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. These turbulent times require a new way of thinking, a new beginning, a new sense of responsibility for our country, indeed for the future of our planet. Prior to World War II, higher education in this country was essentially elitist. Only the wealthy and well-positioned got to go to college. Then, with the advent first of the GI Bill, and then the investments made in federal student financial aid in the wake of the Russian space program, and finally the development of the community college, access to higher education became much more egalitarian. As a member of Congress and as a former college administrator, I am firmly committed to making higher education more affordable and accessible. Every child deserves the chance for a quality education, no matter what their economic or social circumstances.
Really good.
In recent years, that goal of an egalitarian access to higher education has become more difficult to achieve. I have been proud to work hard to pass recent legislation that helps reverse this trend and to invest in the education and training required to build a highly skilled workforce by expanding access to college for all citizens, making it more affordable. We have recently passed legislation, as I hope many of you know, that increases the Pell Grant maximums of bedrock student financial aid program from $4,050 to $5,975 by 2017. Thank you. We will make student loan repayment and more affordable to borrowers by capping their federal student loan payments at 10% of their discretionary income and to forgive any remaining balances after 20 years. And we're doing this so that students can enter careers without being concerned about how those careers remunerate. We want students to go into public service. We want them to go into teaching. We want them to go into not-for-profits. And we don't want a debt burden to hold them back. As a result of these important reforms, you, our most recent college graduates, can look forward to improvements in your own lives and future generations of American workers and their families. You'll find that a college education is more affordable and accessible. I want to thank you and commend you for choosing to challenge yourselves, to earn a degree, and to strive for a better life. You are the future of our nation, indeed of our world. In addition to expanded employment opportunities, an education contributes to a successful future for you and your family, and that contributes to a healthier world for all. Whether you enter the field of business, science, government, or teaching, we are expecting great things from you. As you know from my introduction, I was a college administrator for 29 years, and the last 16 of those years, I was the chief executive of my campus, the Southampton campus of Long Island University. And I'd like to close with 3 pieces of advice I imparted to the great many students with whom I had the pleasure of interacting over those years, and frankly, it's advice that overlaps with that you just received so eloquently from Dr. Santiago. The first piece of advice is this. I always encourage students to get involved, to participate in their communities, to participate in our democracy, in short, to get in the game. The easiest place to be in this world is on the sidelines, and neither you nor this country can afford for you to be there. As you think about how you can best make your mark, I urge you to be guided by the words of a fellow New Yorker and Long Islander, Theodore Roosevelt. He said a long, long time ago, he said the credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again and again, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows the triumph of high achievement, and who, at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and tired souls who know neither victory nor defeat. The second piece of advice flows from the first. If you're going to get involved, and I hope you do, you have an obligation to be informed. As I used to say to our students, be as outspoken as you wish, but if you're going to be outspoken, you have an obligation to be certain that what you say is factually correct. The right to free speech is rooted in our democratic way of life. But it's an abuse of that right if we speak freely without knowing what it is we're talking about. As the former United States Senator from New York, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, was fond of saying, we are all entitled to our own opinions, but we're not entitled to our own facts. So speak carefully and accurately. Do your homework. Get your facts straight. Irresponsible speech flames hatred and ill will. It creates fear and mistrust, and this is the antithesis of a civilized nation. We need look no further than the healthcare debate that consumed so much attention and passion to see the corrosive effect of the oft-repeated misstatements of fact that characterize that debate. We now know, we all know, there are no death panels. There's no plan or thought to hire 16,000 additional IRS agents, and there's no ability of the federal government to access individual bank accounts, to cite just 3 wildly inaccurate assertions that were made countless times. We can do better than this. In fact, if we're going to solve the myriad of problems that confront us, we have to do better than this. And I'm confident that with your wisdom, we will. Which leads me to my last piece of advice, and that is to value civility. To value civility in all that you say and do. We are in an angry and troubled time in our country, and the sad truth is that anger and the hatred and the intolerance that it spawns makes the solutions to the problems we confront more elusive and unattainable, not less so. Just listen to some of the words we use to describe those with whom we disagree. Socialist, communist, Marxist, fascist, traitor, racist, right-wing nut, liberal extremist. I could go on, but I'm going to trust that you get the point. Who among us is going to attempt to constructively engage someone who uses this kind of vicious characterization when there's a disagreement? Let us stipulate that we all love our country, and we all want what is best for our country now and for generations to come. Let us also recognize when we allow our differences to turn into hatred, we weaken the country we all love. So please, as you get involved, as you present your positions in a factually accurate manner, please do so with the civility and respect that every human being deserves. And so let me close by saying to the class of 2010, dare greatly. Let your opinions be heard, participate in your democracy, but do so with accuracy and civility, and know that in doing so, you will be helping to make our great nation all that it was envisioned to be. Thank you very much. Congratulations.